Welcome to this explainer. Okay, I am super excited to share this one with you because today we're going to do something a little different and honestly absolutely fascinating. We're going to totally deconstruct a real-world document, specifically a vision and application letter for a Talent and Development Facilitator role down at Stripe's Mexico City office. By breaking down this one single document, we get to look at the actual anatomy of a modern, highly effective corporate learning strategy. We're going to see exactly how top-tier organizations are thinking about building their teams, scaling their knowledge, and, maybe most importantly, fostering their internal culture. It's basically a sneak peek under the hood of corporate education. So let's just dive right in.
Right off the bat, the applicant hits us with this incredible hook, and it completely sets the stage. Stripe's stated mission is massive, right? Increasing the GDP of the internet. Now think for a second about what kind of infrastructure you actually need to support a goal that big. It's not just servers and code, it's fundamentally about human capital. Actually, scratch that. It's about relentlessly adaptable human capital. And that is exactly where the incredibly high stakes of employee onboarding come into play. When you're scaling globally, bringing new people in isn't just some nice-to-have HR checkbox. It is literally a critical, make-or-break operational necessity.
So you might be wondering, who actually takes on a beast of a challenge like that for a major hub like Mexico City? Well, the foundational qualifications this applicant brings are pretty non-negotiable. First off, being fully bilingual in English and Spanish. That's absolutely crucial for the CDMX site to bridge the local talent with global HQ. But honestly, the real game changer here is that they root their practice in the latest academic research. They aren't just winging it or recycling tired corporate cliches, They're using rigorous, evidence-based adult learning principles. You combine that academic backbone with over 5 years of in-the-trenches experience in instructional design, and you've got a profile perfectly engineered for this exact role.
All right, pillar one, the front-of-room energy.
Look, no matter how brilliant your strategy is on paper, corporate learning always comes down to the actual physical execution in a room, whether that's a physical boardroom or a Zoom call. And that brings us to this wild statistic, 500 plus. The applicant specifically notes they've trained over 500 professionals. That isn't just a vanity metric. That represents hundreds and hundreds of hours standing in front of a crowd, reading the room, pivoting on the fly, and keeping people dialed in. It really highlights that you need a seriously commanding presence for this job. You have to absolutely own the room. And man, do you ever need that front-of-room energy? Just look at this onboarding cadence. It is intense. Step 1 is taking total ownership of the program. Step 2 is facilitating Stripe 101 bi-weekly. And step 3? That's the physical reality check. You have to maintain the sheer stamina for a brutal Monday through Wednesday delivery schedule. Doing that week in and week out, and making sure the 50th group gets the exact same high-octane experience as the first group, that takes a massive amount of endurance.
Moving right along to pillar 2, the agile/AI engine.
Okay, so we're shifting from the physical classroom to the back end of content creation. Because you can have the most infectious energy in the world, but if your content is stale, your workforce won't be adaptable. There's a huge tug-of-war happening in instructional design right now. On one side, you have traditional models like ADDIE, which has been the gold standard forever. It's super thorough, very step-by-step, but honestly, it can be agonizingly slow. On the other side, we have agile instructional design, and the applicant makes a great point here. Relying on those heavy, old-school models just won't cut it for a company moving at the breakneck speed of Stripe. You need a modern engine. Let's unpack that jargon for a second. What does agile instructional design actually mean? It's basically an approach to training that zeroes in on speed, flexibility, and constant review. Think of it like modern software development. Instead of locking yourself in a room for 6 months to build the perfect training, only to realize the company's goals totally changed in month 5, you build fast. You create a minimum viable product, toss it in front of actual employees, get their immediate feedback, and iterate. That agility is the secret sauce for scaling content rapidly. So in the day-to-day, this means building and tweaking content in short, rapid-fire sprints. But here is the really cool modern twist. They propose using artificial intelligence to automate the tedious onboarding workflows. By marrying those agile sprints with AI, you guarantee that skill-building workshops scale up instantly and stay totally fresh. It ensures the training reflects what the company is doing today, not 3 quarters ago. AI handles the boring administrative heavy lifting, so the facilitator can focus on what actually matters, high-impact human connections.
And that leads us perfectly into pillar 3, fostering the unseen culture. Okay, get ready for a pretty huge paradigm shift regarding where workplace culture actually comes from. Just keep this number in your head.
75%. Seriously, lock that in because it totally flips everything we generally assume about corporate training budgets right on its head.
Research actually estimates that up to 75% of learning inside an organization happens informally. Let that sink in. All those incredibly polished workshops, the formal sessions, the bi-weekly onboarding classes we were just talking about, they only make up about 25% of the actual learning. The vast majority of how you figure out your job, how you navigate internal politics, how you succeed, it all happens outside the classroom. It's the coffee machine chats, the quick Slack messages, the 5 minutes after the official meeting ends.
So what exactly are people sharing during all those informal moments? It's something called tacit knowledge. Basically, this is the personal knowledge you gain from individual experience that's almost impossible to write down in a neat little employee handbook. Explicit knowledge is the stuff you can toss onto a PowerPoint slide. Tacit knowledge, that's the street smarts of the company. It's knowing intuitively which stakeholder needs to be CC'd to get an approval pushed through, or the weird unwritten history of why a database is structured the way it is. It's incredibly valuable, and you literally can't teach it. You can only absorb it.
Now, a killer talent strategy doesn't just cross its fingers and hope this informal learning happens on its own. It intentionally engineers it. The specific action proposed here is to co-facilitate quarterly small group sessions, partnering directly with the employee relations team. The outcome? You create an intentional safe space where that vital tacit knowledge is freely shared. You're basically building the plumbing for the informal network to thrive. It's a genius way of putting a structure around the completely unstructured parts of company culture.
Zooming out here, the whole pitch comes together in this really beautiful synthesis. It's bringing strategy to life through three things: academic rigor, deep facilitation expertise, and scalable AI-driven efficiency. It's not just about having great energy, and it's not just about writing good curriculum. It's weaving those together, understanding the psychology of how street smarts actually spread, and applying it all at scale. That is how a talent strategy actually powers a massive mission, like increasing the GDP of the entire internet.
As we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with something to chew on. How much of your own professional knowledge is tacit versus taught? Seriously, think about your day-to-day job right now. How much of what makes you great at what you do came from a formal training module versus what you just picked up through trial and error or chatting with a veteran colleague in the hallway? Understanding that balance is absolutely key to mastering your own career growth. Thank you so much for joining me as we took this apart. Until next time, keep learning,